Again, welcome to the one, the only L3D, the bird, getting in some learning league for you all today. Again, it is going to be episode 18, and this is going to be starting our interesting segment of the shifting meta. We are going to be going through pretty much like a semester of this little bit of change, figuring out new things, new builds, new kind of interesting stuff that's actually coming into the game of League of Legends and coming into it pretty soundly. The first thing that we're going to be talking about of the shifting meta is going to be to Phage or to Blade. But first, we should never forget, we want to welcome you all to the show. Again, check out the host / the helpers for running the show up, Definitive Esports, over at D-Esports.com. And also big thank you for our sponsors going all to us. They're really helping us now, making this possible for us, which would be XMG, Antec, Triton, BenQ, and Mad Cats. Go check them out if you can. They're on the bottom of the page right there as well. And it is going to be the new school year is here. And on learning, we've learned how to be a better Sonar by playing the game. Getting the rolls down, getting how to last hit, stuff like that. But also by analyzing the differences of what could come in later of the game of League of Legends. We've seen some top teams like Moscow 5, Taipei Assassins, Zero Blaze change the meta of the team game. And we also have seen some differences in the AD carries as well, especially with the major play of that Pulsefire Ezreal and the major play of the Corki to the Ezreal. So we're going to look at the interesting factor of what's the difference between building a Phage and then what's the difference between building two Doran's Blade. So first things first, I want to go check if I can do this real quickly. Yeah. So we do have the stats, not for that, but yes, the stats for a Phage. Just really quickly, Phage, you get extra health, a little bit more than what the Doran's Blade does right now. You get extra damage, which is 18 damage, and your base attack gets that slow chance proc, which actually gives a pretty decent kind of slow. We're going to be pairing that off. We're going to be going against the awesome Doran's Blade. And Doran's Blade is pretty much a basic item that doesn't actually build into anything. Phage, of course, you can build into a Trinity Force, and that's why you do see Corkis and Ezreals and stuff like that as well. But that is kind of just the usual thing, whatever that you usually buy out from there. So Doran's Blades, usually you buy after you buy boots and 3 pots for ADC. That's not really changed. You need mobility in the lane. But usually you'll see a lot of ADCs before take double Doran's Blades and then add on a Vamp Scepter at the end, which would actually create like a mass amount of damage for this really early game go. And that's why Riot decided to nerf it. It used to be 100 health, used to be 5% lifesteal, it still is 10 attack damage. But with those nerfs, it really has kind of made the question, is it better just to go Phage first or to go with the Doran's Blades? So I have a little graphic for you all today. It is right here, bang. So yeah, we have the stats and everything, and you see that with the 2 Doran's Blades, this is added on, that you do have a little bit more attack damage. You have less health, but you have lifesteal, and lifesteal is pretty important in the game of League of Legends for ADC, because lifesteal, literally you auto attack means you get more life back when you're trading efficiently against your other counterpart of an ADC. But with Phage, you do have to spend a little bit more money. You get less attack damage, but you do get more health, and you get that slow chance. You have 1/4 of a shot to get a chance at a slow. So in a way, it's buying out that extra 400 gold to have less AD and have a chance of a slow. That sounds pretty weak, right? But that's kind of what all the AD carries have been doing so far. Getting that early Phage to own up in lane, just because that extra mobility has been really a difference factor in the game of League of Legends. And in this part 2 of the ping, we're going to check out the second part of that. So if you're going to be building up a Phage, and you're going to be building up 2 Doran's blades, you kind of need some sustainability with that Phage. Sometimes if you're still behind and you still need a little bit more gold, a little bit more time, you want to buy a Vampiric Scepter. A Vampiric Scepter is the lifesteal tool for a lot of things. It builds into, well, you see the list, builds right caught lists, executioner's calling, stuff like that. But in the most part for an AD carry, it builds it into a Bloodthirster. And to have that start off really, really early, it's been really kind of like a wrecking tool to get you into that mid-game really big dominance and such. The only reason why you see Vampiric Scepter really early as well for most professional games, for most games in general right now, it's an easy item to snowball you to that mid game to late game, but also it's a tool to re-sustain during team fights and team fight engagements where you're in solo queue and you can't really trust anyone, and then you have to fight on your own maybe per se because you're the AD carry. They usually bum rush either the AD carry or the AP mid. So, you want to try to re-sustain yourself. So, having that Bloodthirster or even having that Vampiric Scepter will help you duel/fight, and there's a little bit of entrenchments or a little bit of skirmishes between a 1v1 and against the AP mid or between the jungler per se as well. Other than that, Bloodthirster, well, we can look at the stats really quickly as well, is a pretty strong item just because each minion death that you kill or secure onto your character, you get an extra AD, you get an extra lifesteal kit. So you get an maximum of 100 attack damage plus on top of that 20 lifesteal. 20% lifesteal. That's a lot of damage you're going to be doing. Plus on top of that, you're going to be lifestealing a lot of it as well. This is also the case for a Bloodthirster. To go to Bloodthirster early, it's because they want to push towers and stuff like that, secure objectives, win the game really early. So that is kind of a linchpin to this whole ADC thing right now, and it's something that most AD carries can't go out without the Vampiric Scepter, not the Bloodthirster. People can play without the Bloodthirster technically because they can build into more damage items, but the Vampiric Scepter is so key. So technically, in both senses of the word of an AD carry, you want to have that. So we have the other ping right here. Just ignore the bottom part really quickly. So we have the Phage plus the Vamp Scepter. You have the cost being of 1765 altogether, so that's pretty much the core cost. This is pretty much the core items with on top of that the Berserker Greaves, but we're going to cancel out that factor right now just because that's just another factor that's going to ramp up with cost anyway. So 1765 for that core cost, so you get that health, you get that attack damage, and you get the lifesteal. Pretty still standard. I mean, you don't get any other extra benefits other than the cell and the chance for a slow. While the 2 Doran's Blades and the Vamp Scepter, you mitigate costs for 365. You get that least about health, but you get that a little bit more life sustain with the Vamp Scepter on top of the 2 Doran's Blades. So I'm still in this factor where I'm like, okay, I see the differences and I see the cost, and I still think double Dorans plus Vamp Scepter is a lot better. Why do people go Phage? I mean, the early buy, if you have to go back, technically, is this 935 cost for a longsword plus Vamp Scepter plus 2 red pots, which will give you 10 attack damage with the lifesteal and the health with the red pots. Well, if you just go back with 950 gold, you have to get 2 Doran's Blades. I mean, it's very segmented in what you want to buy into legitimacy. And into the second part, what we'll see is that, will Phage actually work out more than what the double Doran's Blade plus the Vampiric Scepter usually builds out to? I mean, the biggest thing about League of Legends right now is mobility, and mobility is so key into the game of League of Legends. So if you cancel out, what's one for the other, you can definitely win your lane a little bit faster. So if you cancel out a few auto attacks with each other, that means you're going to be winning the lane even faster. Or if you need to chase down somebody with your Phage, that means you're going to be winning lanes so much faster because they're running away, they can't attack you back, you're running into them, you're still slowing them down, and you're still getting more auto attacks on top of it. That is really scary. That is super scary. And with the double Doran's blades plus the Vampire Acceptor, I mean, you won't get that super sustained if you can't attack back, or if you're getting too many attacks coming into you. That is very, very tough. But all beside the point, you know, the one thing that everybody's been doing is, if you're falling behind, or if you want to still build up to that Trinity Force first, / you want to get into that Trinity Force first, most people with the quirky Ezreal kind of gimmicky build to Trinity Force plus Bloodthirster or whatever, build into double Dorans or 2 Doran's blades and then a Phage, or then a Sheen, or then a Zeal. And in a way, it's worth it, but then again, you're going to be putting yourself so behind, because usually when you build into the Phage, at least, you have to spend an extra 1350, which will put you behind even farther, which will be about 2265 gold. So in the sense of that, you could wait about 300 more, 335 more to get an actual BF sword or something with more damage, and not put yourself as behind, because especially in the game of League of Legends, if you have to go early and you have to buy early and you buy there's 2 Doran's blades, and then you still want to build into that mid game kind of core item of the Phage, and then you want to go into even more, you're going to fall so behind against another AD carry, because they're going to be having enough utility or enough time to actually buy a better item, maybe not really a pickaxe, but definitely a BF sword, or even on top of that, just more damage in general with maybe even Rigo's Lantern, maybe, or even so with Phage or into Sheen as well. So that is the difference between actually buying double Dorans and an actual Phage on top of that. So usually, I mean, if you can get away with it, usually you can only get away with it if you actually get fed kills as an AD carry. And as an AD carry in general, you don't usually want to go for kills. You want to just go for really sustained harass so that you can cancel out the other AD carry, and then actually farm up for the win, because that is usually the goal as an AD carry. We will be right back. It is a short little session about part 1 of to Blade, or to Phage, or to Phage, or to Blade. We are going to be going back into this. Don't you fret, don't you worry, we'll be right back.